I mix what I like, what I like, what I like, what I like. Yes, indeed. What's up, world? Welcome to another edition of I Mix What I Like Live. Again, I'm Jared Ball. Happy to be here. Of course, we're on Black Power Media. Good morning, greetings, grand rising, all of that good stuff. And welcome back. Welcome back to the platform. Yes. Peace, Ricky. We are live again. Peace, everybody. Welcome back. Roz Elbow, Shirley, Tafari, good morning. Dawn Gibson, Lisa, Anthony D. Hope everybody's doing at least as well or as good as could be expected. I was going to do, actually, I'm not going to front. I saw Kwame Brown do it, and I thought it reminded me, if I look fresh, that I don't know. It might be just the I don't know. That's I don't know, serendipity at its best, I suppose. Maybe, I don't know. It was a weekend like I haven't had in a minute. It was a great weekend. Stayed up way past my bedtime, way more than normal. But it was worth it. And we're going to talk a little bit about that because, we have to. And it was just it was an amazing weekend. So, but I am happy to be back. Always, hold it down until we're back at full strength tomorrow morning with the Remix Morning Show. Please do like, share, subscribe, join. We got a little bit of business done over the weekend, our special little BPM Atlanta gathering. And we are planning a lot. We taped some for it, but we have a big goal for Black August coming up around the corner. Month-long daily work with BPM regarding BPM and commemorating Black August. We have some independent journalist projects we're looking to develop and build. And in fact, I want to ask people who are watching this now or who will see this later to reach out to us. You see it scrolling there at the bottom via blackpowermedia.org. If you either have, if you want to bring a show to the platform, we are inviting people to submit proposals via the platform, and we're expanding the proposal form so that it's a little more clear about what we're asking people to tell us about their programs and help structure it a little bit. So please do that. But I would like to also specifically encourage people to reach out to us again via blackpowermedia.org if you or folks interested in independent journalism projects. We want to start to talk to some folks who are based where they're based and who have a certain capacity, interest in politics to start more, for lack of a better word, partnering, hiring, whatever, folks to produce more. So please, check that out if you can. Encourage others to do that. And that's where the support is going. When you like, share, subscribe, join, when you join our Patreon. All of this through blackpowermedia.org, or you join and support his membership here at the YouTube channel. I know some might be watching on other outlets. That's where the money goes. For the most part, at least, certainly. That's what we're trying to do. And we have more shows coming. In fact, tomorrow, one of the newer programs, the Black Myths podcast, they have already expanded beyond their just normal show and have brought to us what will be the first of their debate series. So that is tomorrow. And I just want to, I'll just share this real quick as a reminder. Consider the following. Tomorrow night, 7 p.m. Eastern. Right here at Black Power Media, consider the following debate resolution. Community control of the police is inconsistent with police abolition. So anyway, so that's that. So definitely be in touch with us via blackpowermedia.org in particular, and let us know, if you have any ideas or thoughts about that as well. We'd love to hear it. Okay, let's see what else before we get any more busy. One thing we are also we've been in touch with. I'm going to come back to the weekend part, by the way. There's a lot more to say about that. I just want to take care of a few things business-wise, and I have a number of stories I'd like to get to. And then I was actually thinking, I had seen Kwame Brown do it, so I was thinking about doing, thinking back to, this is what I get for looking in the comments. Back when I used to do radio, and we would open up the phone lines and let people call in, and he actually would put in the studio invitation in the chat, I think, or in the description, and let people jump in and jump on and get on. So I'm still open to doing that if folks really want to, but I did have a number of stories, because initially I was thinking, I didn't have really chance to plan as much as I would normally do for today's show because of the weekend, which I'm going to come back and talk about and, get to in a minute or later in the program. But then I did catch up with a number of things, stories yesterday and late last night, early this morning, that I thought would be good for us to look at again as we hold it down and get ready for our tomorrow morning, Tuesday remix morning show, Monday at 8 a.m. Eastern time, when the full crew is back. But like my man Math Hoffa says, tell somebody, reach out to folks and get in here. Click like, share, subscribe, and join. Okay, one thing though, we have been in touch with, and when she is ready, she will join the program to talk more about it. I know some of us have been paying attention a little bit to some of the recent statements, some might say revelations, some might say something else, coming out of the MOVE movement. And for a couple of days ago, Pam Africa, who we've been in touch with, and when she's ready, she'll come on out. She'll come on with us. She put out a statement on her Facebook page. I reposted it on mine this morning, and I just want to read the first paragraph and then share the Cash App for, there we go. I'll share that now as I read this initial paragraph for her daughter, Pixie. Sorry. So if you are, if you haven't read it, or have connection or access to Pam Africa's Facebook page, or just go to mine, it's the most recent post this morning. You can read the whole statement if you haven't already, but I just want to read the first paragraph here. As she says, "To my family, friends, and supporters, my name is Pam Africa, and I unquestionably and unconditionally support my brilliant, sweet, loving, strong, and beloved daughter, Pixie Africa. I have great concern for her and our family, including her children, my beloved grandchildren. I support my daughter's right to tell her story and her autonomy to share it how and with whom she wants. Pixie is an amazing mother, and it is her strength as a mother and her well-deserved love for herself, as well as her love for our community, that has caused her to step forward. Let me plainly say that she, Whit, Josh, and Maria are neither traitors nor government agents. They are survivors of trauma and deserve support. Whether you know what is going on right now or not, my daughter Pixie is in an urgent situation. I am asking my friends and supporters to help her by sending as much as you can financially by Cash App at the Cash App I've put up here on the screen." And the full statement obviously goes on, but I just wanted to share at least a little bit of that. And in some ways, I am appreciative and want to commend her for the way, obviously she's dealing with family, and but it's clear to say that to address the tendency, as it happens, for people to be dismissed or tagged as traitors or agents, and to remind everyone of the trauma that is at the center of all of this. Obviously, the cause, originating with the cause of the conditions of Black people here in the United States. So, just wanted to support Pam and all of them, and I hope all of this turns out well. Pam had, anyway, when she's ready, she'll say more, and I would encourage people to read the full statement if they haven't already. Okay. Black Myth debate. So this other thing there was something that I missed from the other day, either in travel or on the way to travel. And I'm going to come back and talk about our BPM weekend in Atlanta, which was off the hook. By the way, did you all see Sundays last night? Shout out to Ear Doctor, man. And rest in peace to Biz Marquee. If you don't watch Sundays, I mean, we do put them, they're up on the channel, so you can always go back and check them out. They're obviously not able to be monetized, all the copyright stuff, but you talk about just a little glimpse in a 60-minute form of how dope he is as a DJ. I know he did, we have a lot of jokes, and he's, a lot of fun with him on the morning show. But when you actually see him in his DJ element, and I got to see more of it even this weekend. I mean, my man knows exactly what he's doing, and he did a great show last night, a great tribute to Biz and 80s hip hop and 80s pop, by the way. I mean, he was a little expansive with it last night. But anyway, you should check those out on Sunday nights. It's a great way to sort of end the weekend, and he really killed it. Yeah, you know what? Where am I over here? Where am I over here? Hold on. I wanted to yeah, I agree with that. He is a genius on the ones and twos. Okay. All right. So yeah. Anyway, but there was a couple things that so one of the things there was something that let me go back and get my ordering correct. So I was thinking of when I was thinking of how I would approach the show this morning, and the lack of my routine levels of preparation. And I had reached out to Brother Netfa. I thought I'd ask him to come on and join me this morning, but of course he's out there, being the revolutionary journalist that he is, out there doing a Latin America, emancipatory journalistic trek. How about that? Through what he calls the Latin American axis of decolonization, Nicaragua, Cuba, and Venezuela. So peace to him and his crew. And I can't wait to get all the stories and to see all the reporting and to check out his great work on Voices with Vision, WPFW Tuesday mornings when he gets back. So he was saying, he was a little busy, couldn't join it because he's in Managua. He was in Managua for the celebration of the anniversary of the Sandinista Revolution. So shout out to him, shout out to them, and all the good people down there in the axis of decolonization. Anyway, okay. But so as I was thinking about how I would approach the show, I said, well, let me do what I would like to do, especially since I was thinking of inviting more back and forth or exchange, that let me bring up stuff or go to some things as I might like to do when I was teaching or when I do teach my classes. That, and one of the things that I like to do is check out work that comes out of the Pew Research Center. Always a good place to get some conversation starters. Not necessarily, not for an analysis again, but a starting point. And I see I'm lagging there a little bit. Apologies again. I'll move the thing a little closer. I don't know. But and one of the stories that I saw from earlier this year, a couple weeks ago, is just something I thought was pretty interesting here. Black and Hispanic Americans see their origins as central to who they are and less so for whites. Again, I don't go to Pew for analysis or interpretation, but I do, find some of the surveys they do and the whatever comes out of them to be somewhat interesting, even if it's just to start a conversation. So, and my point in that is in this case is to say I didn't vet all of the mechanics or the method here, but it seemed somewhat to contradict what I've always thought I understood, that I've not ever thought whites were less concerned with their origins as much as they were more aware of them and more quick and of course quick to use that awareness to valorize those origins above and beyond the rest of us, and to sort of weaponize it. But maybe if I look more carefully at it, or if anybody has any other thoughts about that they would, maybe the conclusion is more along the lines that so Black and so-called Hispanic Americans, in many ways, as a force of decolonial work, have to be more focused on reconstructing an appropriate origin and identity, as opposed to taking it for granted. But I just thought it was interesting. Most Americans say they are very familiar with their roots, but the strength of their attachment to them varies by race. And Hispanic, and I don't like the Hispanic term, but an Hispanic origin, according to Pew Research Center survey conducted to explore themes of self-identity ahead of last year's U.S. decennial census. Black and Hispanic adults were more likely than adults to say their origins are central to their identity and that they feel a strong connection to their family's cultural roots. Overall, 6 in 10 U.S. adults said they are very familiar with their origins, according to the survey, but not quite half said they feel strong connection to their family cultural roots. And only a third said their origin is central to their identity. However, Hispanic adults, especially immigrants, were more likely to be familiar with their origins than single race Black or white adults. Hispanic adults, especially immigrants, were more likely to be familiar with their origins than single race Black or white adults. A majority of Hispanic and Black respondents, but not of whites, A majority of Hispanic and Black respondents, but not of whites, said they feel a strong connection to their roots. And about half or more of Hispanic and Black respondents said their origin is central to their identity, but only a quarter of whites said so. Interesting. And then I also thought it was interesting because, oh, right on. Carpe diem. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Quickly, just briefly, welcome. Carpe diem is a new member to the platform. We appreciate you, and invite others to do the same. Go ahead and join on up. Yeah, I mean, that's always what I thought. They rep their European ancestry. They got parades and whatnot. I mean, so I think this is why I said I don't go to, you know, these outlets for the analysis so much as just for the initial starting point in the conversation, because I think there are a number of reasons we could point to as to why a survey like this, you know, I'm not even sure. I haven't even looked at how the questions were formed, but I could see why the respondents would say, I could see why it would come out this way if you don't sort of factor for, again, the experience of decolonizing, of in some ways being forced to more consciously center a reconstruction of an identity, of a history, of an origin, out of the rubble of what has been disassembled and destroyed in the process of enslavement and colonization here. I mean, again, this is exactly my point. And peace to you, Hiram. Good morning. For Latinos, does origins mean national identity? Seems like origins is being substituted for simultaneously including racial and national identities. Exactly. And again, I admit I've put all the links, by the way, in the show description on the YouTube channel, so people can follow up on this. I'm not by no means am I bringing this having vetted or researched this just to start a conversation. So, but I think, you know, so immediately these questions come up for sure. But one of the reasons why this story stuck out to me is that the you know, among these other hashtag efforts, the people who are most loud, at least as I'm aware, the people who are most loud in condemnation of me publicly are from that other backwards hashtag. Like, they really support that hashtag. And so I just saw the other day that again, I'm being accused of you know, lying and attacking and all this other stuff. And so I was just asking for sources and detail and information, and of course, none of that is forthcoming. But my point is that I was wondering if this or one of the other stories that I was looking at related to coming out of the Pew Research Center was having something to do with this. In other words, as people are being forced to, in this country and elsewhere, revisit or come back to the struggle around self-concept, identity, national origin, or the narrative of origin, or the origin narrative, the origin story, at a time where other things are happening. You know, it's so this process that has been ever present and ever necessary since just as one starting point, or to borrow from Kamal's favorite white man, Chomsky, one point of abstraction, the construction of this country. If we start with that, there's always been a need to address national origin, construction, narrative, identity, et cetera, and so forth. But the context has been slightly, man, I almost said evolving. That's definitely not the right word. Shifting is a better word. So here is perhaps another, from earlier this year, potential, the growing diversity of Black America. 46.8 million people in the U.S. identify as Black. But what within that, what does that mean? Which is also changed, or is changing or shifting. The Black population of the United States is diverse. Its members have varied histories in the nation. Many are descendants of enslaved people, while others are recently arrived immigrants. The Black population also has nuanced ethnic and racial identities reflecting intermarriage and international migration. As a result, there are key distinctions in demographic and economic characteristics between different parts of the national Black population, highlighting its diverse multitude of backgrounds. So, for instance, if once upon a time, as I think it was easier to see just any black face as part of this African diaspora. And one has a relationship with someone from another part of the diaspora. And this being 20 years ago. And that relationship fails. They split apart. Couldn't it become 20 years later from that point out that as one reflects back on what happened in that relationship, that their interpretation of what caused the break could change, and into this shifting sands of Black identity might emerge an encouraged, imposed hostility, leading someone to say, you know what, we broke up because they're from another part of the diaspora as opposed to another factor, and to focus on that and to have perhaps build a whole politics around that new reflection without considering the context, without applying, for instance, a revolutionary analysis to those shifts or to one's even reflection. I think that's possible. Anyway, so I just thought some of these figures were interesting. Among the U.S. Black population, both multiracial and Hispanic numbers have grown. First of all, this word Hispanic, I'll have to go back to see how Pew comes to it. I really don't like the word. I'm not comfortable necessarily with any that are pointed at our family from. I'm not really not comfortable with any of these labels. I started to say Central and South America. I don't like those terms either. But anyway, I definitely struggle with Hispanic. But anyway, I thought anyway. Okay, all right. But the total U.S. Black population being counted at over 46 million, but within that, there is a 2.4 million Black Hispanic population, a 3.7 million so-called multiracial non-Hispanic population. Then there's a 40 million single race non-Hispanic population. Okay, so right. So single race Black non-Hispanic is at 40, little over 40 million, just under 41 million. Very interesting. This number here, obviously, or maybe not obviously, particular for me, this multiracial non-Hispanic 33.7 million number is very interesting to me as well. As more people are being encouraged and accepting the multiracial category, and then I'm not even sure how that's being defined. I think that's very interesting. Very interesting. There was another piece of that was interesting as well. The 1 in 4 in Gen Z piece. Over half of the Black population is in the South piece. Texas has the largest Black state population, and I was told that the ball contingency down there is strong. Apparently, I'm supposed to have a lot of unknown relatives down there. By metropolitan area, but there was one growing college degree, although of course it doesn't mean anything economically, certainly anymore. The Black immigrant population has grown in number. The majority of Black immigrants identify as single race Black and non-Hispanic, while 10% identify as Black and Hispanic, and 3% say their racial background is multiracial. Very interesting. But this was where I was really wanting to get to very quickly. Black household income since 2000. Sorry about that. It says here nearly half of Black households in the U.S. earned $50,000 or more in 2019. But that was interesting, but that wasn't where was the one I was looking for, because, here it is. Income inequality within the Black population remains one of the widest within a major racial or ethnic group. In 2019, Black-headed households with income in the 90th percentile among the population of Black households earned 14 times that of Black households with income in the 10th percentile. I can't imagine that's improved since COVID, but I thought that was very interesting. And again, I'm thinking of this in terms of not only the backwards hashtags and the confused politics and movements that seem more noticeable today than before. But also, yeah. So I'm just wondering if between these two pieces, this class divide that has expanded, and I remember Earl O'Farry Hutchinson pointing this out many years ago, saying something very similar. So I think this has been a persistent problem, the class divide within the Black population. I don't think this is new with the so-called expansion of the category. But it is something that its persistence in this shifting moment where not only is the definition of Black expanding or shifting or changing and including more people or more people from around the diaspora commenting on it or contributing to it, but this class divide coming with this, this anti-Pan-African and conservative in many ways politics. I don't know. I feel like that there's something in all of this. All of this is contributing, is what I'm is what I'm suggesting, at least. Yeah, I guess I could have been talking about just about any of these or several of these different hashtags, but no, yeah, just soda, yeah, and yeah. Anyway, and I woke up in a really good mood, so I didn't want to engage with hostility, these differences and these different hashtags. I really don't mean even be this hostile as I think I'm coming off, but I just find it, I'm not able to engage on substance. I'm not able to find a substantive conversation. So as I just was trying to think about not only what to talk about with you all today, but but in that and these, I don't know, it just seems relevant. So anyway, let me see. I think there was one more of these that I was gonna. Oh, right. There was one other Pew thing that came up, sort of related to my interest in media that I just wanted to bring up, because I was actually a little bit surprised. I haven't followed this very carefully lately, but I didn't realize, this just came out the other day, that to what extent, again, that home broadband adoption, computer ownership vary by race, ethnicity in the United States. To what extent we're still dealing with the so-called digital divide and adoption of high-powered internet speeds at a time where obviously that's increasingly more important. Black and Hispanic adults in the United States remain less likely than white adults to say they own a traditional computer or have high-speed internet at home, according to a Pew Research Center survey conducted between January and February in 2021. But there are no racial and ethnic differences when it comes to other devices such as smartphones and tablets. So my first thought with that is that, one answer to that is obvious, because smartphones and tablets are less expensive and more quickly to be given away, as was the case at some point with the Google phone, or with a pay as you go contract, just so that you can get people, just so that they can get people on and giving away all their data. And I am aware that, I believe it's still the case, that throughout most of the African diaspora, that most people connect to the internet through their devices and not through some sort of high-speed connection. I just wasn't sure. I wasn't aware to what extent this was still an issue here in the States. 8 in 10 white adults report owning a desktop or laptop computer, compared with 69% of Black adults and 67% of Hispanic adults. 8 in 10 white adults also report having a broadband connection at home, while smaller shares of Black and Hispanic adults say the same, 71 and 65% respectively. So anyway, I didn't have that. I didn't, just thought that was interesting. Yeah, and that's perfect. That's perfect. But according to others, Black people own the older laptops. By the way, I don't know to what extent. For me, he's kind of, as they used to say, jumped the shark. My Kwame Brown viewing, but I mean, his big push has been coding and computer technology and stuff like that. And as we talked about with Sister Sebs, and I hope you all saw that, the pre-recorded joint that I left you all with Friday. Man, she killed it. She killed it. And really, she made that point very clear, that this is what it's about: getting hold of the data. But that's a perfect segue, because, but that's also what, that's part of the argument that Kwame Brown was talking about. His argument is, get everybody on, computing and coding and trades. Got to learn a trade. Not that there's anything wrong with that. It's just that that there's just never a discussion of political power, which is what it is that we actually need, which was why I was really happy. I was late to it, but back in February, this piece was published at Grassroots Thinking, which is, at least initially, I don't know if he changed it. This was Kamal's blog, connected to community movement builders as well. But again, all these are linked in the show notes, so you can come back to them in greater detail. Then perhaps I'm going to get into them now. But as this author, I forgot his name. It's at the bottom. Kwesi Amponsa writes, "Cryptocurrencies, fake freedom, and Pan-African pandering." And he simply breaks it down to show in different segments of the essay that one, cryptocurrency is not a store of value in the sense that you can't judge its value on a day-to-day basis, that it's created this narrative, that this narrative has been created that cryptocurrency and blockchain offers independence and sovereignty and liberation, which it does not. He equates it to a multi-level marketing scheme, which it is. And then, of course, brings us back to the context of the Pan-African condition and the political condition, that this is about politics and not some sort of struggle with, again, quote unquote, financial literacy. But as he starts off with here, this essay is written specifically to address the current trend of Black financial literacy hustlers who have devised crafty individualist for-profit schemes under the guise of Black empowerment, building generational wealth and sovereignty. And he does a great job. So I encourage folks to check that out as well. It's one thing to say, as one friend of mine said to me privately, look, if you have money to invest and you want to take a shot on speculating in the stock market, get you some Bitcoin or whatever. But arguing this is the collective salvation for a Black community or any community, that's where it becomes a pernicious. That's where that mythology, that's where everything starts to come back in again. And that's right. That's right. And that's exactly what she was talking about. That's what Sebs was talking about in that interview. So please go back and check it out from last Friday. Seb Solomon, and definitely want to have her back on the platform, because she put it in the proper context and expanded the discussion in a beautiful Pan-African way. And that's it. That's it. Empire is the difference. I don't know the exact context of that, but I would of that particular comment. But I mean, it basically would apply perfectly anywhere. Empire is, I mean, it's is the difference. Anyway. And that's right. She went over this too, the connections to Epstein and Save the Children. I mean, she got onto all of that. The link to her essay is in that story as well. So you can, beyond our conversation, read her work. But everybody, I know some people think it looks slick, but can we go back to the old style of Black text on white background? Because the reverse, I did read somebody said on the web, there's a condition, and I have it, whatever it is. It gives me a headache. So anyway, or you just copy and paste it. And yeah, definitely hit the like button. We got 2 dislikes. So I'm assuming that would be, never mind. It don't matter. Anyway. If you do like what's going on, hit the like button, hit the share button, hit the join button, become a member, do all that good stuff. Invite somebody to join us, and definitely be ready to come back tomorrow morning for the Remix Morning Show. That's interesting. Mm-hmm. There you go. That's right. There you go. We're on the same page. Yeah, and by the way, Hill Harper too. And please do. Yeah, I think Two Black was with me for one of those, and Kaba was with me for another one. But the Hill Harper stuff, yeah. Oh, I get. Now I'm catching up to the joke. My bad. Okay. All right. Okay, so we did that. So then there was this other thing that took place the other day that I definitely want us to look at least a segment of. Shout out to the folks at, well, in this case, the Answer Coalition for this right here. But obviously, we've been paying attention to what's been going on in Cuba. There was more of a pro-revolutionary, pro-Cuban revolution response over the weekend. But before even before the weekend, there was an analysis dropped at this event hosted by the Answer Coalition. A lot of it was dope. I mean, the brother Manolo was on there. I mean, a lot of it was dope. But I just want to share this one segment from Gail Walker. Dag, I got to do that again. My bad. Because the way she breaks this down and what she adds in some context here is really important. Right, Brian Becker was there, Gloria La Riva was there, Manolo de los Santos was there, and all of them offer up a lot. The link is there; you can watch the whole thing. But I just want us to watch this 5 minutes of Gail's presentation. It's pretty self-evident, but let's check this out real quick.
Next, we will be hearing from Gail Walker. Gail Walker is the executive.
Hold on a second. Was that going through? Hold on a second. I don't want that. I don't want that to do that. Hold on 1 second. Sorry about that. Let me start this again. Here we go. That's not what I meant either. All right, one more time, everybody. Hold on a second. My apologies. And then we're going to go. I do apologize for that. That. All right, here we go.
Next, we will be hearing from Gail Walker. Gail Walker is the executive director of the Interreligious Foundation for Community Organization, IFCO, founded in 1967 by progressive church leaders and activists. IFCO's purpose is to advance the struggles of oppressed people for justice and self-determination. Since 1992, IFCO has worked to bring an end to the immoral and unjust U.S. economic blockade of Cuba and has provided humanitarian aid to Cuban people through its annual friendshipment caravans, construction brigades, and educational delegations. Now I'll hand it over to you, Gail. Thank you.
Thank you so much, my sister. I appreciate those kind words. And thank you to the Answer Coalition for organizing this important forum. And of course, thank you to my brother Manolo, my sister Gloria, and my brother Brian for inviting me to join in this important event and conversation to shed light on the reality in Cuba today. Our brother Manolo has spoken about the current incidents that took place in some localities in Cuba so eloquently. And I'd like to speak a little further about some of what's happening in Cuba, but within a more of a historic context. Since Cuba defeated the dictatorship of Fulgencio Batista in 1959, the US government has attempted to undermine the island nation and its socialist revolution. The current upheaval in Cuba is undoubtedly another effort to bring Cuba to its knees, especially at this time when the country is reeling from the triple threat of a devastating pandemic, which is threatening the very existence of the small nation, the lack of tourism and the devastating impact that has had on Cuba's economy, coupled with, of course, the 62-year-old genocidal blockade, not a unilateral embargo, but a full-on international blockade. And a few weeks ago, I had the opportunity to visit Cuba after nearly a year and a half absence, and what I saw was devastating. We saw that the US blockade is more cruel, more cynical, and more criminal than ever, not just because of Trump's more than 240 plus additional measures imposed to tighten the screws, not just because Biden is maintaining this policy, continuing and in fact tightening even further the stranglehold that is the blockade by making baseless accusations that Cuba is refusing to fight terrorism, but also because it is another blow to an already besieged country that against all odds is struggling against the impact of the pandemic. We saw firsthand how the blockade is draining the medication supply more so than it has in a very long time. Analgesics, vitamins, antibiotics, and critical medicines are scarce or found at increasingly high prices on the alternative market. And when we were in Cuba, it was heart-wrenching to hear a friend, a surgeon, report that he couldn't perform surgery because he couldn't provide antibiotics or pain meds to his patients, because there simply are none in the country. There is no doubt that daily life in Cuba is difficult. Neither those on the island nor Cuba's international friends are denying that reality. But what's clear is that right now the Cuban people are suffering. And we can't deny that the sinister role of the US government is playing a critical role in creating that suffering. Sure, all nations are grappling with COVID, but none, not one, are doing so while they have the foot of the US government on their neck and have had this be the case for the past 6 decades. But this reality, coupled with a historic, organized outside agitation by the US, is clearly aimed at fomenting regime change in Cuba, and has been the case in too many other countries with governments and systems that the US has opposed. We know that the US government has historically worked to discredit the Cuban government. As the infamous April 6, 1960 Mallory Rubottom memo issued by the US State Department boldly confessed, the US has worked to bring hunger and hardship to the Cuban people, so that they'll choose capitalist wage slavery as a respite. The US empire could never tolerate what it considers the audacity of a formerly colonized brown and Black people to choose its independent path. The countless attempts to undermine Cuba since 1959 continue. USAID is currently offering grants up to $1 million to groups who will, quote, bring democracy to Cuba. Secretary of State Blinken has continued Trump's policy of accusing Cuba of, quote, human trafficking, claiming that Cuban doctors are subjected to forced labor and equated as slaves. A special immigration parole was developed to entice them to defect. And this is an obvious attempt to counter the goodwill that Cuba has gained by its health internationalism. Over the past year alone, Cuba has sent 3,700 health workers and 52 international medical brigades to 39 countries overwhelmed by the pandemic. Cuba's international medical brigades have treated patients and saved lives for the past 15 years in 53 countries, confronting natural disasters and serious epidemics such as COVID-19 and the Ebola crisis in West Africa. And while the mainstream media is painting a picture of severe unrest in Cuba, we know that there has been far more expressions of support by the Cuban people for their revolution and their government, all across the island, including in Guantanamo, Cienfuegos, Las Tunas, and others. It's not lost on us that the US corporate media covered the recent protests in Cuba involving a few hundred people with sympathy not afforded the millions of multiracial protesters against lethal police brutality in the United States. The US has discredited Cuba's international cooperation in the field of health, even though its international medical program has been recognized by dozens of governments, the United Nations, the World Health Organization, and other international organizations. The US-Cuba solidarity community denounces the ongoing disinformation campaign and the efforts to undermine the Cuban government, and we boldly and unapologetically stand with socialist Cuba. We charge genocide against the Cuban people on the part of the US government with an internationally illegal and immoral blockade. The US government has intervened illegally in Cuba's internal affairs since 1903 when it established the Platt Amendment to rule the island as a US colony. With the Cuban Revolution in 1959, Cuba asserted its own self-determination, and the US government responded with continued sabotage of Cuba's socialist system, with billions of US tax dollars wasted on subversion campaigns. Biden claimed recently that the US, that he and the United States stands with the Cuban people. But if that were true, he would lift the blockade. We've had enough of the hypocrisy. We, the people of the world, demand the US government end its illegal, morally repugnant blockade against Cuba and stop funding subversion campaigns to overthrow the Cuban government and destabilize the country. The US government and corporations have for far too long seen Latin America and the Caribbean as their backyard to exploit as they wish. And we say this ends today and declare that the US must leave Cuba. Cuba, we stand in solidarity with you, with its people, and we know that victory is ours, that the reality is that our Cuban friends are suffering great hardship at this time, but they are not alone. The international community stands with Cuba, as it's illustrated in the United Nations recently, has been illustrated by the more than 40 resolutions that have been passed, representing 30 million people in the United States alone. Cuba is not alone. We must continue to work to end the sanctions, end the blockade, and let Cuba live. Thank you so much.
Right on. The only, I just want to share the reference. The memo that Gail referenced is short and sweet and to the point. Memorandum from the Deputy Assistant Secretary of State for Inter-American Affairs, Mallory, to the Assistant Secretary of State for Inter-American Affairs, Rubottom, Washington, April 6, 1960. Subject, the decline and fall of Castro. Salient, by the way, I mean, I know it's a couple years early, but it reads, I mean, this is, I mean, it just sounds, it feels like you're reading COINTELPRO. It's all the same thing, but it's just, you know, anyway, salient considerations respecting the life of the present government of Cuba are: 1, the majority of Cubans support Castro. The lowest estimation I have seen is 50%. 2, there is no effective political opposition. 3, Fidel Castro and other members of the Cuban government espouse or condone communist influence. 4, communist influence is pervading the government and the body politic at an amazingly fast rate. 5, militant opposition to Castro from without Cuba would only serve his and the communist cause. They have the only foreseeable means of alienating internal support is through this is to Gail's specific point. The only foreseeable means of alienating internal support is through disenchantment and disaffection based on economic dissatisfaction and hardship. If the above are accepted or cannot be successfully countered, it follows that every possible means should be undertaken promptly to weaken the economic life of Cuba. If such a policy is adopted, it should be the result of a positive decision which would call forth a line of action, which, while as adroit and inconspicuous as possible, makes the greatest inroads in denying money and supplies to Cuba, to decrease monetary and real wages, to bring about hunger, desperation, and overthrow of government. The principal item in our economic quiver would be flexible authority in the sugar legislation. This needs to be sought, and this is actually going to be a perfect segue to the question I was going to address. The principal item in our economic quiver would be flexible authority in the sugar in legislation. I want to read that again. This is working out so perfectly. The principal item in our economic quiver, the principal item, let me make myself bigger for this part. The principal item in our economic quiver I'll be thinking it's funny at least, would be flexible authority in the sugar legislation. This needs to be sought urgently. All other avenues should likewise be explored. But first, a decision is necessary as to the line of our conduct. Would you wish to have such a proposal prepared for the Secretary? The principal item in our economic quiver would be flexible authority in the sugar legislation. So this would be, so just to wrap, so Gail obviously is exactly right to point out that all of what has been going on is about the politics of destroying Cuba. So claims of and to get people away from socialism. So everything that could be said that could be pointed to be going wrong, relatively speaking, a handful of people protest as is natural, normal, and I think perfectly acceptable in any society. But the narrative developed outside of Cuba is that this means that Cuba must be destroyed, and it's a sign they don't like socialism. In 2019, Pew, by the way, talked about how, again, in 2019, I forgot the percentage, but it was, overwhelmingly Cuban people supported the revolution. But to come back to the question that came up in the chat, and I think I forgot. Now I'm forgetting who said what. I think that Jordan brought up. That is the segue that I'm pointing to. Even the state, this government said its primary, its principal the principal item in our economic quiver, the number one thing is not financial, quote unquote, it's legislative. That's what I mean by political power on one level, at least. That while we're being told to start businesses and become more financially literate, or we're being told, invest in cryptocurrency as a mechanism and get on someone else's digital wallet platform so they, like Hill Harper or someone else, can make money through your transaction. So whether you win or lose, they're going to make money. To tell people, as Kwame Brown is, to get into coding as sort of the primary or exclusive path, while never or discouraging or diminishing or never addressing the fact that we need organization and political power and movements to assume political power, political organization to assume political power. That's where I start to disagree. So that's where I would go back to John Henrik Clarke and say we needed Garvey, Du Bois, and Booker T. We shouldn't pick one or the other. But what I'm saying is, obviously, nobody wants or advocates Garvey. So we're left with Du Bois versus Booker T. And then Du Bois is reduced to the one thing he said in 1903 about a color line, and nothing about his Pan-Africanism or socialism is discussed, or he's diminished because he's opposed to Garvey. He's held up in counter-distinction to Garvey. Or we're encouraged almost exclusively, certainly by the well-promoted among us, to only focus on Booker T's argument in a very narrow, even in a narrow way, to say we need trades and skills. So all I'm simply saying is it doesn't matter how skilled or talented you are, if you have no political power, being able to build, being able to construct will mean nothing for yourself or your community, because you will have no control over the wealth you produce. You will have no control over how wealth is defined. You, in this case, could be the best sugar producer Cuba has ever seen, have the best ability to take whatever comes out of the ground and turn it into what we put in our food better than anybody in the world. But if the United States decides, I don't know exactly what happened with that legislation. If the United States decides, for instance, to flood the market with cheap sugar to the point where even your own country, with its connections politically to a stronger power or whatever, say it's more, I'm not saying Cuba did this, obviously they wouldn't have the ability to do this, but I'm just saying, in other words, as we've seen in Jamaica and all over everywhere, where it becomes cheaper for countries to import what they produce themselves just to play the role in the global market, then you being a local producer with all the talent in the world in that home country become meaningless. Your trade, your skill becomes meaningless. So as Kwame Brown is telling everybody to get into coding, with hundreds of thousands of views, we come over here and hear this discussion with Seb Solomon saying, sure, get into coding, and we turn ourselves into data mining slaves and on data mining plantations, turning all of ourselves over, enriching. I mean, there's no, so that's what I'm saying. And that's why, on the one hand, there's so many perfect segues here. This is why I think it's so important that if we're talking about Cuba or anywhere else, the emphasis is on the blockade and the politics behind the blockade. And as Gail was pointing out here, the politics of anti-communism and anti-socialism. Because I look, one of the few areas where I am prescient and correct is, I said over a year ago, if you watch during the pandemic, there will be an increase in anti-socialist, anti-communist propaganda, because as more people become clear that this economic system is failing or is a failure, they will start raising questions naturally. Well, that propaganda largely worked and pushed people, with other obvious components, variables working, into performative responses. Whether it's the white folks with January 6th, whether it's black folks and Black Wall Street, whether it's the federal government right now pretending to have a debate over DACA. I mean, all of it is meant to say, don't raise questions that would become natural in a moment like this, or should become natural in a moment like this. This is why AOC has to come out and be all wishy-washy about Cuba. Because anybody, even Bernie's statement seems strong relative to that, but anybody associated with socialism has to walk themselves back, sign up with the new program, or get laid down with the propaganda, the anti-socialist, anti-communist, red baiting propaganda. Because everybody's naturally raising questions. How the hell is, capitalism supposed to be the economic model when everybody's out of a job, losing money, broke, has no health care, Maybe we should have another model. No. We don't need another model. Because look, even the socialists in Cuba are upset. So anyway, I guess the shortest answer I have about as to what I'm saying about political power. Now, there are levels to this, because obviously some might say the political power stops at I guess at best a left takeover of the Democratic Party or something like that. And then there are others who would say political power is a complete revolutionary overhaul of this place into something that doesn't look like anything that exists. But whatever it is, it's political power and public policy that determines everything. So, okay, cool. Appreciate you too, Jordan. Thank you very much. By the way, there was one other piece of that Bitcoin thing that I meant to share. I forgot real quick. I know this is from 2018, so probably needs some updating, but these are the people that you're basically enriching when you start investing, because they have all the Bitcoin. So by trading, investing, promoting the propaganda that Bitcoin and crypto is good, you know, even through image and symbol and PR, you inflate the value of what they have. You know, this guy got his 50 million Bitcoin miner, the Winklevoss twins from Facebook. 200, 300 million this guy on, anyway, these are the folks that are, so the idea that this is where our Black revolution is coming from, just on the face of it is obviously, and this guy's locked up. But so the federal government, in fact, they were saying that the federal government has one of the largest stockpiles of Bitcoin because they seized, just in this one seizure, they got 144,000 from the Silk Road. So as a result, as of 2018, when this came out, they had the largest Bitcoin wallet, the FBI, so you're actually enriching the FBI. And then whoever this guy is or isn't is a billionaire. So, anywho, okay, so look, that's all I got on as far as the business for today. I do want to talk a little bit about the BPM Atlanta joint this weekend, because there's a number of, I think, very important outcomes of that. One, BPM is dope. So I just start with that. It was great to catch up with everybody, to see folks that I had either not seen in a long time or never seen in person before. I think Kalanji and I have known each other. I don't like with Kalanji, Kamau, and Iyeli, I don't remember not knowing them. So it's, I'm sure we didn't come up as kids or anything. So I know if we go back into the 90s and beyond, I know we didn't know each other. But my point is, I don't know exactly. We've just known each other for a long time. But Kalanji and I had never met. Kamau and I had met, but never hung out socially, really. We'd only met in like political things, mostly either around Malcolm X grassroots movement or something like that. And Iyeli, I've known more than those two brothers, but not socially like we hung out this weekend. We've known each other for a long time. We're friendly, friends. That's my ace, but mostly just, like what I was calling professional social gatherings, like not like the kind of, less professional social gathering that we had this weekend, which was great. So it was great. Got to go to Playback Sound. Shout out to them in Atlanta. Shout out to Atlanta just in general. I mean, a lot of good people there. A lot of people happy that it's warm and that body shaming is not a thing anymore. People very happy with their bodies and very happy to show them. And it's a reminder that I am a little more, I think I'm more socially conservative than I would want to admit. Because there was a lot of, I don't know, I was just like, I just feeling like I'm just trying to get something to eat. I don't feel like I need to be seeing all of that at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. But, all power to them, Also shout out to Atlanta because they're struggling. I mean, like everywhere else. So a lot of homelessness, a lot of poverty, a lot of inequality. Got to see the community movement builders home that they've put together in that community. I mean, folks are struggling. I got to even see no interaction, but I even got to see the fridge lady. That was exciting. And while we were there, the Black News Channel, the Black owned news channel owned by the very not Black owner of the Jacksonville Jaguars football club, came by and did an interview with Brother Kamal. You could check that out about community movement builders, a short segment. So shout out to them for that. Explain the fridge lady. I don't think I can. You would have to go to like maybe, I know Kamal broke it down on The Last Dope Intellectual with Dr. CBS, but essentially it's an argument and a dispute that on its face is about a community refrigerator that community movement builders somehow participated in supporting so that poor people could get access to some food. And this woman, I'm not doing anybody any justice here, so but this woman does not like that the fridge is seemingly devaluing the property of this potentially gentrifying community. But CMB, of course, is not wanting gentrification, so they're not interested in that. They're more interested in Black community control and improvement of Black communities. So, yeah, Kamal talks about it on his Facebook page for sure. It's wild. It's wild. So I got to see her, which I was very happy. I mean, I wanted to be able to at least say I saw her. But and see the house and see what they're doing, all of that. That was dope. Got to see, how the doctor's set up, and all of that stuff. Got to meet him in person for the first time. Jahai in person for the first time. I missed Minister Server. Although I feel like we met somewhere, but I might be wrong about that. Brother Jamal, you know what I mean? Ace Fatal, got to meet all those cats, so it was cool. And as I said, Playback Sound, shout out to them as well. I think I'm freezing up again. Dang, man. I don't know what I could do to not have that happen. But anyway, what else? So yeah, but then, and of course, to get to see again and actually get to spend more time and hang out with Dr. CBS and Layla Brown. I mean, we had a really good time. It was a blast. We did record. We pre-recorded a number of things. Like I said, oh, you know what? I meant to pull that up real quick. Bear with me again, please, so I can share this. As I said here, I'm not sure how much of our Drink Champ special will actually air, but it was legendary. Joint was legendary. And I am, and one of the things that we also talked about is that we need to broker a relationship with Uncle Nearest, because, you know, Kalanji and I have been talking a lot about it since we started this platform, and and it is quite delicious and Black owned. So we are in full support due to the rapid growth and overwhelming success of Uncle Nearest Premium Whiskey, expanding from one state to all 50 states. Blah, blah. Long story short, Fawn Weaver, meet Miss Fawn Weaver, who is the owner of Uncle Nearest. And Miss Weaver, if I could just, Miss Weaver, just make myself a little bigger for this. Miss Weaver, let's develop a friendly, professional relationship between Uncle Nearest and Black Power Media. Our interests are clearly merged, at least at certain points on that Venn diagram as they talk. And we are all about the Nearest. And all I can say is, you know, we started that picture. You know, you see in this picture again, I think there were two healthy full bottles. They didn't even have the 100 proof. We had to settle for the 93 proof. They didn't even have the 100 proof, which is my normal preference. And yeah, we need to broker a deal for real. Oh, wait, I missed the wrong one. Yeah, yeah. We need to broker a deal. Yeah, we them bottles didn't look like that at the end. But in the process, we had a multiple hour taping of what I'm calling Drink Champ. Shout out to Nori. Everybody made it through. We had a great time spinning music. But some of it I know is not coming out. I definitely know that. But I'm looking forward to a good portion of it coming out. We also taped a more sober, pun intended, discussion and commemoration of what will be a part one of our, or maybe an introduction of what of our commemoration of Black August. So I'm very happy about that. We and hopefully we'll start having at least clips of that coming out very soon as well. So there's going to be a lot of content coming as a result of this weekend, just not all of it. But it was a really good time. Some great pictures. We had a lot of fun taking pictures. So we have some new pictures coming out. And as I said, we have also we did also take time to discuss our work. You know, I mean, we did have a lot of fun, but in the mix, there were the discussions of, you know, some self-critique of what we're doing on the platform, how we can improve, listening to feedback we're getting from a lot of you, talking about how we want to expand, which is why, again, I want to reiterate what I said at the beginning, and please go to blackpowermedia.org and fill out show proposal forms if you're interested. And I'm definitely looking to connect with some independent journalists who want to help us create pieces and stories from around the diaspora. We're looking to develop professional relationships and projects with you all. So please reach out to us again through blackpowermedia.org so that we can start to build. So if you have already liked, shared, joined, or become a member, thank you very much. If you have not, please do all of those things. Support our Patreon as well, again through blackpowermedia.org. Because we are continuing to expand, and we are. I'm trying to push for them to be quarterly. There was some resistance and suggestion that we need to have it only 3 times a year, but we are looking to have quarterly BPM gatherings and events where we can, get up in person and not only have a little fun, but meet up with different communities, because they're going to take place in different parts of really the world. Hopefully the world. Anyway, so there's a lot we're trying to do, and that we're interested in trying to build. So and we definitely want to see more of you at some of these other future gatherings as things hopefully eventually start to open up. Or we get over. I don't even know what I'm saying about that. I'm saying open up in a truly post whatever moment. I don't think what's going on now is, I don't know. I think the goal is to have them become open events. I think I don't want to speak for. I'm not entirely sure. I think that's pretty much the goal. I know we wanted to do probably some members only stuff, but I think that with the goal, we'd like them to be open events. I think that with this one, sort of our first one, and COVID's still going on, and not everybody could make it, and obviously. Sister Jackie, is still recovering, and we had obviously hoped that Baba Abdus would have been around and been there. All of that was supposed to have been part of the plan. But between COVID and just struggle, we just weren't, sure how best to do that. But the goal, I would think, would be for that to be the case. Yeah. I would certainly want that to be the case. So, but I think that's it. I think I covered everything I had intended to cover. I don't know if there are any questions that I missed or comments, if anybody has something for me or for us that I can address before we wrap up. But otherwise, please do go back and check anything that you might have missed. The Warrior Class episode 2 came out this weekend. I got to see at least some of that. I got to finish that. It was dope. We got more shows coming to Saturday morning. We got the great debate starting tomorrow. The Consider the Following series with Black Miss Podcast, 7 p.m. tomorrow on our platform. Of course, tomorrow morning, we're back at 8 a.m. Eastern with the Remix Morning Show, and the full crew will be back. And we'll see how well everybody's recovered with a little extra day. Because I came back, some folks, I don't know. I don't know if everybody is finished when I did. I'll just leave it there, and yeah, by the way, 100 proof. I mean, if you can do it, you know what? It's going very well. I think there might have to be some scheduling shifts, but it's going very well. And what I really like about it, by the way, again, is that I'm in a current group, the Maji Circle, which is based primarily in Germany. So to be linked up with some in younger German Africans, or Africans in German, I should say, Africans in Germany, I should say. Is a very different and interesting experience to be grouped up with some, different, having a different version of this experience, but also sharp and young. So it's been great. I very much appreciate it. So thanks for that question. What was it? Oh, my bad. I didn't mean to click that one, Hiram. But anyway, yeah. Why give it so much attention? Yeah, I don't think that was a question for me, but I think, Hiram, one of the reasons why the hashtag debate gets so much is because so many popular platforms promote it. You know, so and what's been generating what I've been seeing some of the personal stuff against me was the interview we did with Cornel West, and where he was asked, not by me, but you know, I was supportive of the question. I'm just saying it's funny that I'm seeing that I'm getting so much of the negative responses because of my own particular history with them. But the fact that we asked collectively, and I certainly would have wanted the question to be asked, you know, basically why was Cornel rocking with them when he's clearly been in the Pan-Africanist camp for so long and clearly a diasporan himself, you know. Anyway, that has drawn out some of this stuff again. So, you know, I appreciate that, Kenyatta. I'm not familiar with the brother, but I appreciate that. Thank you very much for that. And rest in peace for sure. Rest in power. So anyway, So anyway, but look, we got a lot of great content that is either coming up or that has already gone up. Please check the Seb Solomon interview about cryptocurrency from last Friday. Fantastically dope conversation. And I look forward to hearing much more from her as well. And then man, there's so much coming. We got Real Talk with Dr. Sundiata. Either that you can catch up with or that is being scheduled. We got all these specials up here I'm looking at. Anyway, a lot of great stuff. Renegade Culture. I saw that late, unfortunately, with Dr. CBS and Layla Brown from last week. All that stuff is up there. Yeah. Oh, word. Sounds good to me. Looking forward to it. Okay, I didn't mean to click that, but that's cool, Tony. That's cool. I'm not even mad at you, man. I'm in a good mood today, man. I'm not even mad at you. Yeah. I mean, he just didn't. Honestly, he didn't know what he was in. He didn't know what he was in, and really beyond just this ADOS thing, this is actually, I think, a growing issue with some of our elders. It's not just with Cornel West. There's been a number that I know personally, and so never mind how many I don't know, just personally, who have been targeted by more conservative elements in our struggle, who, without it being known to them, and they have been associated with folks that they didn't intend or wouldn't have intended to been associated, or have their work been put in association, or their work used in that way. You know, we don't always know who's reaching out to us. We think, you know, a lot of people are trying to do good work, and we're inclined to be supportive. So I get it. Yeah, indeed. Yeah. You know, I stay on the soda. How could he not know that? I think it's easy actually not to know it. Well, targeted in the sense that, yeah, people want to reach out. I mean, because obviously, if you look at the politics of Cornel West, they don't jive with the politics of the founders of the hashtag. I mean, he's aware of that. They have to be aware of it at this point. So targeted and I mean by the sense that they're reached out to in the way that we would reach out to anyone that we would want to perform a certain role for us. So and then because I think people, as big as they've become, I think that if you're attuned as to a certain direction, you got to look at what Cornel West has been just in the last 5 years. He's been doing the show with Trisha Rose. He had been doing a show with Bob Avakian. I mean, do most folks even know who Bob Avakian is? Cornel West was doing a show with the dude. The dude, I think, well, claims officially is reported as he can't even come back to this country because of his communist activity. So my point in all that is Cornel West has been attuned in a lot of different directions. He's not going to catch everything that is bubbling up or coming out of whatever circle. So, and he's certainly not going to know. Most people don't know the origins and don't know the founders or the history of the founders. No, I'm saying, yeah, anyway. I mean, so anyway, my only point in that is that Cornel West, like many other elders, I think, are not catching everything, and none of us catch everything. And then people reach out to them, and the approach is good. Look, it even happened to me. This, much on a much lower level. The initial invitation. I mean, even with the founders of the hashtag, the initial invitation was all love, welcoming. And so, and if you don't interact that long, then you have to understand how Cornel West largely interacts with most people. There are invitations put out, there are responses and scheduling set up, sometimes with him directly, not always, historically. There are, then there is and as it happens with a lot of us, you show up at an event, you maybe have a meal with somebody, or you have a brief conversation, one or two, you might hear something from them from the podium. Then you give your talk, shake hands, photo op, and you're out. Then your photo stays on their website, but you don't even know what they're doing. So anyway, so that's how I just think it's just that easy. Not on this platform. Historically in radio, I've done, I don't know, a number of shows and segments on Brother James, interviewed people done work around James, but we haven't done, but not since we started BPM that I'm aware of. I haven't. So we could definitely work CLR back in. I mean, he's come up not as the centerpiece, but he certainly has come up. If you watch the post Adol's comment at West 10, he seemed to be trying to prop them up as opposed to hold his ground on issues that contradicted it. Fair enough. Maybe. Okay. Maybe. I don't know. This is funny. Are you going to a KKK party if it was advertised Tony Braxton was performing? Do I have a backstage pass? Woo! That's funny. That's funny. All right, let me tell you this. Speaking of a funny story, I'll wrap up this morning on this one. Yeah, I do laugh at my own jokes. I do. I think I'm funny as hell. And that one, So check this out. On the way home from the airport yesterday, I got in one of these, I don't even want to, one of these, what do they call them? Gig economy car ride services. And it's a white woman driving, and I'm masked up. And it's always funny because nowadays, having lost all my melanin, having lost all my hair, I never know how I'm going to be identified or how people are going to see me, right? Especially when I'm masked up, I had a hat on. Get in the car. But I don't mind. I often don't mind talking if they want to talk about whatever. I don't mind listening. And somehow, and because there was a little confusion about where I was going, I had to ask a question about the process. And in responding to my question, she goes into this car ride long story, which was good for me because it was very interesting about how these two dominant gig economy car riding services work. I had lost track of the story. So they did win their lawsuits. They sued all 50 states and won everything. And basically these workers have no rights, no pension, no protection, no nothing. So on the class level, I'm fully on board. Like her story is horrific, the way that these drivers are treated. And initially she starts complaining about the people she picks up and about how they make her wait. She's been attacked apparently. People, but the idea is that it's your job is what she gets a lot from the people is what she was saying. So if I call for the car and I'm asking you to wait 15 minutes, that's your job. And from her perspective, she's saying the longer I wait, the more money I lose, the more time I lose, the more everything I lose. It's just a waste on top of waste. But then she starts to slip into I work in Baltimore City. Because part of what she was trying to say is I live in Baltimore. She said, I live in Baltimore, and she was driving me out to Howard County from BWI Airport. But she was saying that's not too bad, but she was saying, but because we don't know where we're going until we accept the ride, I was hoping you weren't going to have me going to DC or Northern Virginia, because I've told people, and I did the other night in Baltimore, 3 a.m., that I wasn't willing to take them all the way to DC, and they got upset and threatened my life and said they were going to blow my head off. That's how the car ride started, actually. And I was like, damn. Because I'm thinking, my initial thought is nobody should go to work, be working by themselves, male, female, woman, man, anybody. Nobody should be working by themselves at 3 a.m. in Baltimore or anywhere else, having to hear that because they don't want to go all the way out of their way, that they're going to get their head blown off. And from her point of view, but I was asking about the process because I was trying to say, because I already fear where these are going. I don't want to really get into stuff in the car. So what I was trying to say is the company is setting people up by setting up a situation where the person calling for the car ride. So when I call for the ride, I don't know that you don't know where I'm asking to go, because you have to put in your destination. So I'm saying I'm going to Howard County, or I'm going to DC, or I'm going to Florida. But the person picking you up doesn't know that until they get there, and they click on accept the ride and get there. Then it says, oh, by the way, you have to drive them to the other, what would be for you 100-mile round trip, whatever. She says she doesn't want to do that because she loses too much money and time, plus it's 3 a.m. But I'm trying to say it's the company that sets you up, because as the person calling for the ride, I don't know that you don't know that's where I want to go. So when I'm saying, when it tells me the car is going to be there and so-and-so's picking me up in 2 minutes, it at least encourages me to assume that they've already accepted this and everybody's cool and I'm willing to pay the money and they're willing to take the money. But it forces this interaction where where the driver then has to tell the person to their face at 3 a.m. on the corner, I'm not going to DC. And if you've been waiting on the corner for the ride, thinking you're going to get to DC, and they're told at the last minute, no, you're not, I could see why you would get upset. I'm not saying you should threaten violence, but I could see why that would be upsetting. But you also don't know that that the driver didn't know and didn't accept it, or was not in a position to or in advance accept that without taking the ride. And then she went into this whole thing about how if you don't take rides, particularly during surge periods, your rating within the system goes down and you get less opportunity. I mean, it's all kinds of stuff. All kinds of stuff. But she started to want to say, I thought my point is I didn't want it to become this criticism of this white woman talking about black people and it was going to become one of these things. That's where I started to feel like it was going. So when she said to me, when she asked me, so during the conversation, she asked me, well, what do you do? Did you have to go in during the pandemic? And I said, well, I teach. So I didn't have to go in. She said, where do you teach? I said, so that's why I sort of took the opportunity to say, well, I teach at Morgan State. Being from Baltimore, she's immediately, oh, and you can see her eyes go up in the rearview mirror. She starts looking more carefully. Well, what do you teach? Media and Africana studies. The eyes again. Oh, and she's looking again a little more carefully, listening. You can see her listening a little more carefully for inflections or tones or whatever in my voice. And starting to wonder if I was. So then I noticed she shifts in her next wave of criticism of the people she has to pick up in Baltimore to a discussion of Fells Point and raves. So anybody familiar with Fells Point in Baltimore, no, at least as I remember it, that's a whiter section of the city. And rave is certainly white. I'm not aware of black raves or raves being associated with black. So then she sort of shifted to the problem being everybody or the white ones too, without saying it. So I exactly. Now, admittedly, there have been times where I would have, in a different temperament, a different mood, a different moment, not outed myself, to let it go, to see what was actually going to, which is one of the reasons why another time when I maybe get more autobiographical, I could explain how I arrived at my politics. But that's because once they start speaking freely, it's pretty clear what the situation is. But anyway, at the level of class, at the level of class, I was right on board, and I was saying that she was being set up to be in a horrific situation by this both multi-billion-dollar companies, and yet, and then almost it's like, and it plays out. Even if you want to look at an intra or an interracial conflict through the lens of class analysis, you could see it playing out in this conversation right there. I don't know where she really was in evolving beyond a simple class analysis, or I should say a simple race first analysis. But it was pretty clear. I mean, you're putting people into an immediate conflict with one another. And the company has nothing, is completely, Then she went into the whole thing about how she has to pay a higher insurance premium, but if she gets into an accident while performing as a service of a car, performing the duties of a car service, the car company takes over the insurance dispute, not her insurance company, and then punishes her by not allowing her to have the benefits that her insurance company would offer. So if she has an accident while driving somebody, her insurance and her increased premium has it covered for her to get a replacement car while the car is in the shop. but the way apparently it works, because she's performing the duty at that time, one of the other car company takes over the insurance claim, satisfies everything, particularly for the passenger, gets her car fixed, but doesn't have all those premium, but makes her, for instance, pay for the replacement car. So even though she's paying a higher premium because she's driving professionally, she's not able to get what she's paying that premium for. So I was like, anyway, I mean, it's a really jacked up situation. And at the same time, I saw no cabs. I don't even know, honestly, if what the state of what we used to call the yellow cabs are anymore, but I saw none. I saw no cabs at the airport. So I don't know. It may have just been the time. I don't travel that much anymore. I don't know what's going on. I've been paying attention enough to the story, but that was just pretty wild to me. I'll save that. I'll come back to that Monday. So, yeah. Yeah, and it's wild because and honestly, it's an adjustment for me, because for the first, well, I guess I used to say half, but I'm getting a little older now. For the first almost half of my life, passing was not an option. So, you know, I mean, my beauty has adjusted, but it used to be different. You know, I used to be differently beautiful and not able to pass. So I'm still learning, you know, I'm still learning I'm still learning the game. The only previous passing I was able to do was when whites thought, if they knew I was mixed, that they thought I would be down with their anti-Black criticism. So it wasn't that I was passing as white. They thought it was more that they thought it was like they thought I might be trying to pass as wanting to be down with them. So it was always, you know, so they would get one line off at a time, and then it would become conflict, and it would be not another. But in terms of like an extended passing where I could sit back and actually, that's relatively new, and I haven't really learned how to fully take advantage of that. If I was in a different mood yesterday, I might have tried to let that go to see what I could have heard her say, but I just didn't. Honestly, I didn't. I was tired. I was a little grumpy. I didn't want to. You know, sometimes you got to try to predict a conflict and avoid it. And I was like, let me just do that. And she was, you know. So, oh yeah. I'm gonna let you all carry. By the way, this is a good point. I was gonna say I'm gonna let you all carry the reparations identity piece on your own, but we got another request for that extended discussion platform, and we talked about that this weekend too. I should have made that point also. So we are going to be building that out too, so that people can go to blackpowermedia.org, and any of these conversations that we don't allow for enough elaboration during, you know, from either on screen or during the show, you can all continue that, and we appreciate that you want to. I think that's dope. Yeah, no, yeah, no more. So yeah, Hey, shout out to Eddie Griffin for that joint too. That's my movie. That's quietly, he was quietly doing some work with that thing. Yeah. So yeah, Undercover Brother for real. Yeah, absolutely. That was wild. Yeah, man, I love that movie too. In fact, do I have time? I might try to watch that today. Yeah. We also talked about that too. We were talking about like putting together, not necessarily movies, but some particularly around Black August, a lot of Black August materials. That discussion, I'm very excited for it to come out. The Drink Champs, I'm excited and a little nervous about, but the Black August one, I'm very excited about that coming out. And really shout out to Kalanji. I know we joke around a lot on this platform with him, but his connection to that struggle in history is I think underappreciated, underknown. But all of that will be made very clear when after you all see that joint. That was a great conversation. Pootie Tang, absolutely. Yeah, we should definitely have a I would love it if we could have like a BPM in the park with like a drive-in joint. Oh, word? Hey, right on. Appreciate that. Appreciate that. Yeah, George is a beast. Beast. Wait. Did I miss it? Oh, let me tell you, shout out to my man Bashi. We were supposed to, one of the many fallen projects, we were supposed to do, anyway, we were going to make a movie. And I had the scene. There was only one scene. I was going to be a deep in the background player, but there was only one scene I demanded. And it was going to be my remake of the, the famous scene from Spook. And I was ready. I was practicing. I was born black. I'm gonna die black. I was born black. I live black. I'm gonna die black. Probably because for some cracker that knows I'm black better than you, nigga, gonna put a bullet in the back of my head. I was ready for that joint. But we didn't get there. And that dude became a cop. The late Bruce Dixon told me he became a cop. He said he knew a couple of those cats. Oh, right on. Yeah, that's what I was saying. Yep. That's it. And CBS got a good picture of me and Kamau out there, calling us the twins, all that kind of stuff. Anyway, man, shout out to everybody. I had a really good time this weekend. And really the reality is the reason we were able to have fun and get some work done is not only because we came together and put this together, but because all of you have been rocking with us and supporting it. There's sometimes been some struggles and there will be more. There's been some disagreements and there will be more, but that's struggle. So I appreciate that you all have joined us and all of that. And I would encourage you all to reach out and invite more. Please go back and review anything that you missed from today. I think we covered some interesting and important things. Please go back and check the platform for all the other great stuff that's out there and that's coming. And continue to support the channel. I really appreciate you. We all appreciate you. It's very evident that the collective is appreciative of all of your support. And as I'm sure they'll be making clear when they come back on in the coming days and weeks, and when all this footage starts to roll out, you'll see that, and that you all who weren't even able to be there with us will feel it. You'll feel it and be able to join us next time. So on that high, I wanna leaving the light-skinned militant joint up on the screen. But on that high, I'm gonna leave it there for now, and I will catch you back tomorrow morning, 8 a.m. for the Remix Morning Show. Peace to all of you for joining us, because I know you're willing to fight for it, as Fred Hampton used to say. So we'll catch you next time here at Black Power Media, and I mix what I like. Thanks again, everybody. Peace. I mix what I like, what I like, what I like, what I like.
I like, what I like